Queensland government's decision to allow new laws to pass the parliament so that people can change the sex on their birth certificate without gender reassignment surgery based only and solely on self-identification, as well as allowing children as young as 12 to change their sex by court order without the consent of mum and dad. Now, this is despite opposition from the Queensland LNP and a raft of medical experts who've now bravely spoken out against the use of life-changing gender drugs on young people. Joining me to discuss what I regard as madness, Sall Grover, a women's rights campaigner, founder of the website and app called Giggle, a social networking online device, faced a lot of backlash, though, from trans activists after she banned biological men from joining the network. Sall Grover, welcome to the program. Let's get your reaction up the top. What do you think of these new laws in Queensland?
Well, to be honest, I'm not entirely surprised. It's just the latest in a long line of decisions that have been made to completely obliterate women's rights. I think the important thing to understand with self-ID laws is that they actually have very little to do with the self. I mean, in a free society, no government is actually telling you how you can or cannot identify in your own mind. These are laws that are actually dictating how everybody else around that person has to see somebody. It is taking control over every other citizen's critical thinking faculties, freedom of belief and freedom of speech. And so while, yes, these laws are just devastating to women's rights for our female-only spaces, services and sports, it's actually every citizen in Queensland that are affected by sort of just the stupidest law you could imagine being passed that has had a lot of very ignored opposition.
Yeah, I'll make that point. I mean, I spoke to a psychiatrist this week concerned about the fact that Australia seems to now be behind the world, who are revising how they deal, particularly with young people and gender dysphoria. We had opposition from the LNP, the Queensland opposition parties up there, but of course there's not two houses of parliament in Queensland. There's only one. It passed the parliament. The biggest criticism comes, though, from the community, who say there just hasn't been consultation. And this was not an issue that the Premier took to the last election. How's it gone down in Queensland about the lack of consultation?
I tried so hard to have meetings with Shannon Fentiman, who at the time was the Attorney General, who was pushing this law. She ignored every attempt I made to meet with her to talk about it. She ignored every woman's attempt to meet with her and talk about it. I mean, Rachel Wong, who is of Women's Forum Australia, Rachel and I put together a document to show the harm that self-ID can do, and we submitted it to the committee. They requested us to do it, and then last night stood on Parliament floor saying there was no evidence of the harm, so they've either ignored the evidence or they're lying. Just every part of this has been what feels like an authoritarian nightmare. It's just they are so desperate to put this law through. We're in a situation where, we've got the voice, and no matter what you think about it, it is going to a vote. Gay marriage went to a vote. These gender laws have never gone to a vote. They're just putting them through, often in stealth. And now Australians are waking up and going, I'm sorry, what? I have to believe that men are women out of fear of punishment in court? I mean, this isn't freedom. This is not helping society in any manner at all.
And of course, I point to overseas experience. When this was tried on in Scotland, it cost Nicola Sturgeon her job. It was certainly rejected by the national government in London. I mean, this is the challenge. Australian states are doing something without the say of voters. And overseas, when it's tried, governments and political leaders have been heavily punished for it.
Exactly. I mean, if you are going to go and push through laws that say that every person has to accept someone's version of themselves, or in this case, a man saying he's a woman, when people find out about it, you're not going to be very popular. So how I do view this at the moment is while sort of they might be winning some little battles along the way here, and it is really, really frustrating and our rights are going away, more people are going to start to realize what is actually going on and wake up to the fact that something needs to be done, and we do need some pushback. So you sort of have to try and find the silver lining in this, although some days it does feel harder than others, definitely.
Hey, just a quick comment before we go. A report in the paper today, Sydney's Royal Hospital for Women in Randwick. We know in January they did Australia's first uterus transplant that went from a woman to a woman. But gynecologists at the hospital, missed that word, they are saying now they've got an open door to uterus transplants from women to what they call assigned males at birth, which are biological men. Again, where's the community debate on this?
Well, I just think it's absolutely bizarre. They're changing laws to say that any man can self-identify as a woman, and then at the same time they're doing procedures to put uteruses into a male body and saying that your body doesn't make you a woman. I mean, when women like me fight back against these laws, we're called bioessentialists for saying that only women have babies. They were told that, you know, if you don't have a baby, that doesn't mean you're not a woman, which, I mean, obviously that's true, but if you're a male, you're not a woman, and any woman who's had a baby will tell you it is hard. And that's when our bodies are designed for it. This is just absolute nonsense, and, you know, women's rights are paying the price for it all.